Hey everybody, welcome to Some Guys Talking. I am your host, Brian Holler. I am here with my amazing, talented, extremely gifted co-host, Aaron Washington. Aaron, how are you today, sir?
I am doing well. Thank you very much, my friend. How are you today?
You know, we're living the dream as always here on Some Guys Talking on the Beard Bros Media Network. If you are not subscribed, I do not know what you're doing. You need to go push that subscribe button and take care of business. So please follow us for amazing chats with all sorts of different guests and hosts with various shows on the network, including us and our amazing special guest today, Mr. Byron Staton. Sir, always good to see you. How are you?
Glad to see you guys. Like, happy 7/10 today, okay?
Yep.
It's just funny that it fell on this day, right?
It is kind of interesting how that worked out for us all. So, yeah, so happy 7/10 out there, although this will be airing at a time where it'll be well past that. But, hey, you know, concentrates, oil, etc. They're, 7/10, but it's but one day. So, enjoy. So,
Happy
good to see you, Ryan. Let's start right at the beginning. Introduce yourself to the folks. Tell people a little bit about what you currently do.
Okay, like if you guys don't know me, I mean, I'm at every conference. I show up everywhere. Let's not beat that over a dead horse, right? Look, I've been in commercial cannabis 16 years now. Right now, I'm basically consulting. I hate to even say a consulting word because I'm really a mentorship more than a consulting guy, right? Like, if you have a new facility or old facility you're trying to get up and get it cash flow positive, that's kind of what I'm doing. Just running in there, trying to like fine tune their processes and really just try to build a good cultured team that gets along together and like can figure out what the end goal is, right?
Yep, exactly right. And that's very cool. I mean, again, that does lead into an interesting conversation, right? Consulting is sometimes looked at as kind of a dirty word in our world. So it's a mentor, advisor, right? Fractional leader, right? All of those things, but they all mean the same thing as, you're essentially advising and helping a company grow, and you're usually being paid as a vendor to do so.
Right? Yeah, and look, before that, I was a COO for a couple major companies in this country, right? That did, very well. We rolled a couple up, like everything. Like, so I've been to those places. I just prefer to be here now.
Yep. Well, you've earned the right to be able to do that.
I appreciate you guys.
Well, that's the truth. And, so I personally, like, it's going to be cool for us to explore sort of how you got to that, right? Because on two fronts, right? Because ultimately, I think that's important for like larger people, the larger audience to sort of just see that, like, here's how someone can legitimately become a consultant in a space. There are many paths to do it, but like yours is a very logical one that a lot of people have followed in their history, right? The gist of it, and we'll let Byron dig in obviously though, but you start, right? And then you get more responsibility, then you all of a sudden get some skin in the game, then you're a leader, and then you maybe have a successful exit, or the company goes to a place where you're cool and you can ease up, right? Correct. You have the right to be an advisor. So how did you get there? That's what we're going to basically dig into with you today. Aaron. Yes, sir. So I know you're curious about where Byron got his start.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm curious about, and we will get there, but Byron's a car guy,
That's true,
and I want to ultimately hear about that. So I'm just going to give him the floor and just let him jump on in.
Yes. So I guess the obvious place to start is sort of with everybody. When did you discover the plant, and how did that sort of affect you in terms of even thinking that it could be something you could dig into?
That's a trickier question because when I discovered the plant wasn't near the time where you thought you was going to go legal. Okay. Right, I tell everybody it's like where I started compared to like where we ended up it's so interesting to even my family, right? Because like, look, I worked for a major car company in the US for 19 years, right?
Okay.
Grew the plant from when I was like 14 till now,
right.
Learned very early from relatives, it's not hidden. I was born in Kentucky, grew up in Ohio. So, I'm just one of those guys. My family taught me young. That's what they did. I picked up on that. I ended up getting an education and going to work for a top national car company in the U.S. for 19 years as a product engineer.
Sure.
Right. I was lucky that I received that gift back then when I was young, because, you know, like late 80s, early 90s, I grew up in Cincinnati. That wasn't really a great town at the time. You know, it had status, and it definitely, there was a population that didn't go places, we'll say. You know, I ended up getting a really good gig with a car company. I was there 19 years, like I said. And then, look, I left there, went to Seattle because I knew stuff was going to go legal. And in the first place, it's going to be California, Seattle is what I thought, you know. Denver kind of snuck up on me, but like, that's okay. It's still California, Seattle was like where I wanted to be. I moved out there in like 08, 09. When I got out there, I just left the car business. I was like, didn't really have much to do. I was getting a check at the time, so I could play around a little bit. And like I told Aaron, like, I had a car habit. Like, if you like hot rods like me, you have to make money. Okay. Like, you can't have a cool car. That's just the way it is. Okay.
That's right.
So, you know, at that time, like, all of the things were happening in California, all the caregiver stuff was going on, like all that. And I was like, look, I've been doing this forever. I'm going to jump into it at a little larger scale of caregiver method out west. And like, that's the way we all went, or like at least some of us did, you know what I mean? Trying to go to the legal side, which was very tricky because we're leaving black market and going to this legal side. So there's all kinds of scares and, you know, money involved there. And like, what's the family going to do? And like, and back then everybody didn't understand. We didn't know if you was going to get robbed if you grew a lot of weed somewhere and it started being known, or what was going to happen. So everybody forgets about all those days. Like, those things were real. Families had to worry about it. And that's the way it was. Right.
Yeah, for sure. So that's interesting because you've had like you've had this like two distinct lives, although it sounds like cannabis been in your life like most of your life.
It has.
You looked at it like a hobby.
Separated but together, right?
Yeah, it was like a hobby or just something that you sort of incorporate into your lifestyle as just a fan, and like, or you like the medicine, right? And as you worked, you know, that's basically my history too in that regard. I, like you, I wasn't around anybody who was massively propagandized, so I was taught to me that it was, you know, okay. Right, that it was you know, okay to use, which makes us actually unique. That's very rare in the space. Most people we know, of course, had like their parents had very distinct, you know, issues with it. Right, Aaron comes from that sort of a thing, of course, and many people we know do. You know, so that's I think that's a big part of your journey, is that your family was cool with it.
Yeah, and you know, even when I mentor and hire people these days, you know, one of the first questions I ask is like, how is your family about it? Right? Because like, people don't understand that takes effect on people in general and their attitude. If their family didn't accept it yet, maybe they will, but if they haven't yet, that's a hard time on that person, right? You know, like they have to live with that every day. They're like, hey, is my family going to be okay if I get a new career in the weed business? Or right.
That was me. My kid literally came home telling me, because she had health class, she was a freshman in high school, and she's like, oh, well, my teacher's telling me that if you smoke weed, you're lazy and you're a bad parent. And I'm just like, and I literally sat my kid down and I'm like, no. I said, you and I are going to have a conversation. And I said, and it's going to be different than how I grew up with that whole stigma and this and that. I said, and I said, you know, and we all did what we did when we were kids. You're running around, you sneaking, you drinking, whatever. I said, you and I are going to be open and talk about all of this, whether it's alcohol, whether it's weed. Like, I don't drink, but I'm like, whether it's alcohol, whether it's weed, we're going to talk about it. And just with that, like, I have seen how the medication has benefited, you know, her, and just, you know, and smoking, you know, with your kid is the wildest thing ever. It's just so cool. Anyway, and laughing at the same thing, but I digress on all that. but it was like, I'm going to be open about it. But I had to be, because everyone was like, this is like, you can't be a good parent and work in this. Like, you're a bad, and that literally, and I'll hand it right back over. That is why I started posting the stuff I did on LinkedIn. It was all the parental stuff. It was literally as a big F you to everyone that said I'm a bad parent because I do this. Because it's like, oh, really? This is the relationship that I have with my kids. And literally, I'm a better parent as a smoker than I ever was as a drinker. And I said, and that's also what I wanted to illustrate to people through my own actions, that this plant is medication and it can make you a better parent, husband, friend, family member, son, whatever. So yeah, but it's that whole thing that you when you get into it, it's a lot that you have to, because everyone looks at you sideways. Now it's normal, but back in the day, like, people were like, what's going on? Even just something as simple as smoking a joint in my backyard with the family around. People could sit out there like boozing all day. It's fine. I'd have to go here or go there. Now, just to be able to sit out with my father-in-law, who's like in his 80s, and I'm ripping a joint, and it's normal. And it's just like, and the kids are, and actually, and it's the same thing with my kids. It's normal for them to see me outside, like I'll go out after this and just sit out and do it. Yeah. Sure. I'm sorry. I took you on another street.
No. So, I mean, it's a good point though. So I say, like, if you're getting in this business, you're dealing with those issues, right? Like, those are real issues that happen to real families, right? Like, look, everybody knows I have a ton of kids. Okay. So I have 6 kids. They're all grown, but the one left here, she's 17. Look, not many of my kids even smoke weed, dude. Yep. Okay. So I'm telling you, when they know me, and look, I've had podcasts and, like I'm always in the spotlights around, but look, that doesn't affect them. And look, that life is not what they want either. Right. Sure. So, that's even a whole different point. Like, when you talk about your kids smoke. My kids don't smoke. They really don't even care about what I'm doing out here. Right. Like, they're like, he's making a living. He buys all the shit, right?
Right. Yeah,
that's all they don't matter. And what I told people a long time ago, look, when your kids have birthday parties, my kids couldn't have birthday parties because I was black market, dude. Okay.
Yeah. Couldn't have people at the crib. Nope.
Look, nobody slept over with my kids. Okay. So people miss all of those things that come along with us. I mean, we dedicate our lives and our time to this, right? Like, we're here today talking to everyone just for more knowledge, right?
Yeah, definitely hearing it like that makes you go, geez, we have come along. We have come
a long way, bro. We have birthday parties at my house. I had everybody over for the 4th of July.
There you go.
All my neighbors know what I do for a living.
Yep.
They see all the cool cars parked in the parking lot, right? And they're like, okay.
All right, so then my question for you is this, and this is what, because then eventually people accept it, but do they sit back, and I have to ask, do they sit back and just kind of go, all right, we're going to wait for this guy to fail, and they're watching you, and then they're watching things get like better and more, and they're like, huh, and then they're like, oh, it's normal, okay, there you go, and then you you kind of shift their Overton window of like what is normal. And you're like, oh yeah, like, wow. And now they look at you and you can be a model citizen as opposed to being the outcast. Like, and when you said the birthday parties, it makes me laugh because I remember watching some documentary and it was Bob Marley's kids. And they're like, oh yeah, no, we had no friends. We just had each other because nobody would let their kids play with us because that was our father. And you're like, Bob Marley, but it's like, no, literally, they're like, we were the black market, the black sheep of the town. So right on.
I mean, like, not to like speak about the old days, in black market and stuff, because like, look, I just want to talk about what we're doing nowadays, but like, even back then, my wife would take the money into the bank and be like, it stinks, dude. The money stinks. And people don't get that stuff, right? Like, look, the freedom my family has now compared to what it had, it's a whole different beast. Okay. And when I was an engineer, I was kind of like a different guy. I was like in the background, not doing anything. And then I come out and do a lot of stuff in the cannabis industry. Right.
Respect.
Thank you, brother. Yeah.
I think that's ultimately that's what I'm hoping people are seeing is like, well, that's really interesting, but the journey, like you were able to, grow, become a successful in a different industry that I'm guessing is still part of the solar, like cars are a love for you. So you designed them, and so so obviously that ain't going to go away ever, even no matter what. So your two loves are cars and the plant.
Cars and the plant. And, I tell everybody getting into the first time, because I told you, like, I'm more like want to come into a building and mentor the people and like bring in the happiness of the culture, right? Instead of like, oh, we're at this factory and we're just doing this. Well, there's two sides to it, right? Like it's got to make money or it doesn't stay open and you don't keep a job. I think so many people don't talk to them about it. They just like think that that's a given.
Right.
I like to go in the building and talk to the people about it. And like, look, there's taxes to be paid. There's bills to be paid. It has to make money. So, I mean, it's not just about all the goods, right? It's like everything that it takes to run a business.
Yeah.
And to mentor them and say, but you don't have to get rid of culture because of that. Like you just have to build a company culture, right?
I would just say like, that's as somebody who, as does that as well, or did do that. Now I, do what I do. But my point is, I still, even with clients and opportunities, it's about like, in my opinion, you can implement culture through process and structure.
For sure.
Right?
That's
hey, we're supposed to communicate. But dude, schedules are everywhere. You're right. So set a 30-minute meeting every 2 weeks with these people here and make sure you never miss it. And if it's 10 minutes, fine. If it's 30 minutes, good. But either way, you're checking in.
Right.
Anything vital is going to be addressed then. You're going to be privately having a conversation, right? Oh, how does that build culture? Well, of course, it's trust, transparency, but also privacy, right? And also buy-in, right? Now, what your culture is, I mean, it's kind of up to the brand and the leaders and,
of course.
And what's that? Like, so it's not for up to, I think, someone like us to dictate what the culture is. It's to implement it. It's to make sure that it's being implemented.
Correct. Right. And that's the biggest thing I've been trying to do forever is go into buildings and give like the people that own those places are clients, right? Like I want to go in there and be like, what do you want out of the company other than just make money, right? Like no turnover. Like me, I concentrate on the company not having any turnover, right? Cannabis industry, everybody turns over people. I think if you like nurture the people and get them through the deal, which some people will say that's me just being like super good to them, but I think being super good, I get so much back from the people, right? So, that's
a big gray area, as you well know, with leaders. I get it, but yes, should you spend too much money on your employees or not enough? I suggest too much.
Correct. So I always give them too much, but I really like run a super lean building. Right. Like I don't have all this overheads and all these other things. I can pay them more because I watch the corporate structure and like, you know what, if a company's only so big, it can't have all these leaders, right? Like I tell everybody, sure, if it's $20 million company, it can have a big C-suite, right? If it's a $2 million company, it can't afford this, right? So like what makes the company run? And I think some people kind of miss that in this. And I think, you have to come from certain places to get certain places, right? Like me, I think like to just show that where I came from the bottom, and then we work our way up, and then we have a new career and we had an old career. Anybody can make a career. You can make a career. You could go do cars tomorrow, but if you concentrate and put all your time to it, right, that's what you can do, right?
Sure. I think so, but then you'd have to look at all the factors, right? Well, let's see, I'm middle-aged. I did all this other stuff before here. Do I love cars that much to like start on the mechanic floor or whatever? No,
you can have Byron build you a car, dude. That's all.
That's different.
That's just the whole different. That's what I tell everybody. everybody loves cars, and they say something, I'll be like, man, call me. I'll do a couple a year, but I ain't doing many, right? So.
That's right. And so, it's funny, but like I'm realizing now, of course, you were very fortunate to also have that like enterprise level experience in the car front.
For sure.
So you could see how like corporate structure, takes place,
Yes.
how enterprise level money moves, how the hierarchy of like how employees and leadership interact with one another. And then, of course, you start learning, especially if you're at a big company like that, even with what you do with the design, there's different philosophies and theories on how to do all those things that I just said, right? And so in an enterprise level, people are experimenting with a lot of stuff. There's different parts of them. And I don't know about you. I can only speak from my own experience. But for me, when I worked in those environments, it really did help a lot to translate and adjust very, very easily to startup culture or hustle culture or like small, medium businesses. So did you find that to be the case for you as well?
Yeah, I tell everybody, look, if I don't know how you can lead if you've never been at the bottom, right? Like there's all kinds of different situations to me, but I tell everybody I learned so much. My main gift, I think, is I can communicate with the person trimming the weed and the CEO.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So that is two different conversations for sure.
Yep.
But like that is the skill that like I have been gifted with.
Which also means you can talk to the grower who's the CEO.
Yeah, and I did all those jobs too.
Yeah.
So.
The manufacturer who's the CEO, right? The brand owner that's the CEO, right? So
and I did all those jobs. So when I come in as a COO, everybody used to say like, well, you don't have a suit or nothing. I was like, look, I trim many buds. Okay. If you'd like me to show you how to trim a bud, I could show you. But like, that's not the job I have any longer. Right. Like I will teach you to get there. Right. Like that's not what I do. And I think some people get that a little confused when you start moving up the belt too. My wife used to tell me you can't clone plants anymore. Okay. Because you got other shit to do, so you have to find somebody to do that for you.
Right. And for you, like the stuff you need to do moves the needle farther for you, which doesn't mean that you don't want to put intention on the other stuff that you used to it. You just have to delegate.
You got to delegate, man.
I'll take a little bit of margin, a cut on my margin, and I'm going to help, and this person's going to help me out. We're still making money.
Correct. Like, and I think like, it just shows to the new people you can come up through the whole thing and get mentored correctly or like bring yourself and teach yourself, and you can go wherever you want. You're just going to have to kick in a lot of doors because look, I have kicked in more doors than any man alive. Okay. And like, it ain't going to get brought to you. Right. I promise. You see me, I travel all the time. Me and Brian, I see you like all over. Like, it's a hustle every day. You got to get up and get after it, right?
Yeah, you have to. You have to be proactive. I don't care who you are, what you do, what your position is. I don't. Yes, it's easy for me to say, right? I'm front facing a lot, and and do that sort of thing. I get it, but I don't care if you're, programmer, coder, trimmer, whatever the fuck. It is incumbent upon you to proactively advance your career and what you want to do. Does that mean be an asshole to people? No, it means just learn, be mentored, right? Be willing to put yourself in a position to try to get that,
Right. And that's what we teach our kids, right? Like, I don't care what they do. They ain't got to be in the weed business or the car business, right? Like, I just need you to accelerate in whatever business you're going to be in, right? Like, I
don't care what you're doing.
I just need you to be like, and if it takes finding the right guy to like a person to teach you, then maybe that's what you need to do, So I think there's a lot out there, right?
I would agree.
That whole piece that you said of getting up every day, like that whole thing, I was like, damn, go ahead, coach. I'm like, that was inspiring.
No,
I'm like kidding you. Like, you got to get up every day and get after it. All right, coach. Run through that wall.
You know what I tell everybody? I never made $1 laying in the bed.
Yeah. Not that I can recall.
Look, it just don't happen. My kids, my 17-year-olds don't want to hear that, right? Like they want
No. They want to make money while laying in bed. They want to figure out how to do it. The truth of that, though, Byron, is you have made money while you were
Hey man,
but that's because you earned the right to do that. You built that.
That's
right?
just the way it goes. Okay, like and everybody wants that given. That's not given. That's earned.
Oh no,
right?
You must strategically get it, earn it, grow it, move the stuff correctly, be diligent, do discipline on yourself. A lot of fucking things. Exactly right. Like it's not even people who get that opportunity screwed up all the time.
And people as cannabis consumers or whatever, like we have to make a schedule. Guys that don't have a schedule that's trying to do what we're trying to do, that's not gonna work, dude. Okay, like it has
you
to
can't
be
just like right. Like it'd be like somebody trying to like get by with like like if you're trying to do your accounting on like Google Sheets and stuff or like whatever, not like you need to like at least use QuickBooks, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or at least, you know what I'm saying? Like, at least have your accounting friend down the way look at your books every quarter or something, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not suggesting you need to pay I get it, money's tough and those can be difficult times, but don't be stupid. Like again, just, you need these things to grow and run a business, right?
Yeah.
So.
And I really don't think I think that we're not talking about the weed business. We're talking about life and just trying to tell people how life goes today. Really, if that's what it really takes these days is to be real to people, then it is, like there's two things that you get out of cannabis. Like you get the health part of it and you get the medication part of it. And like, look, you can make money doing it. You can do it the right way. You can be a professional. Right. Like, so, and like, I think everybody has to find the balance between like where we are and where our real life is and where our employee life is. Right. We have dedications to both sides. Right. And Aaron, you do got to get out to bed every day.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
That's right. I mean, honestly, we're all a bunch of motivators.
I'm running through that wall.
Baby. And that's really what I like to do to teams when I come in a building. Really, like, look, you see who I am as a person. I'm real. I come in the building like I really want to run a team. I really like to make a team work. Right. So
I'm gonna guess that's why we got along so well when we first met. It's just like I try to be that way. Like it was good to see somebody who also is that way. I always like meeting people who are that way. There's a lot of great people in our space that are, and I'm blessed to know every one of them. I'm always looking for more people who are like that because those are my favorite people to work with. People who are proactive, understand professionalism, willing to take risks, but also not be stupid, develop process, have a mentor sort of angle that they're always taking with people that they work with. That's a big one. Not because we need to all be like altruistic or whatever. No, it's because everybody needs to know. You must teach. We've got like there isn't mechanisms in place for this yet that are established and laid. So it's even more incumbent upon like older folks like us in the space to even be that way with clients, with opportunities, right? With even people who are leaders who even might have more money or whatever than us, right? You need to basically school them. You need to be in a position where you can educate and help.
So it's all types, right? Like, so, I said years ago, when I first started going to MJ BizCon, which was ages ago now, like it was definitely a separation between two groups of people, right?
Yep.
I feel emerging more now. I feel more growers are getting more company educated and learning how to do corporate structure more. And I think more of the business people are learning a little more about our side too, right? So I see a big mold happening that I think is going to come. This is 15 years for me this year in commercial. Look, it's not new. There's some states that's just new. I was just doing some work in Illinois and like it's kind of new up there, right?
Yeah,
and,
Yeah.
There's not a bunch of people that know a lot. I've been doing some interviews for a group up there and I'm like, wow, these people.
A lot of those newer states feel that way too, even though they've been around a while. Like Michigan sort of in some ways feels that way, except for also it has massive legacy history. Like it's been about this for many, many decades. You know what I mean? So so when you get in there and you find that out, you're like, oh wow, And so being from the West Coast, I'm very I'm like, wait a sec, and now I've been very fortunate to be able to go and know a lot of people all over the place. And obviously there's innovation and good stuff happening everywhere,
Right.
When it all sort of irons out, there'll probably be some massive changes to how that works, as cross state opens up and things of that nature. But I do think that hopefully a good byproduct of the fact that it's lame that it's been this way, but that it has been this way is that you force people in places where they normally wouldn't have even messed with growing to grow.
Right.
They had to, right? So that forces innovation, especially in the indoor area, right? Indoors went crazy over the last, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Because of this, in part, I should say, right? That I'm saving overhead and all sorts of other things that you can have. But ultimately, I just think that's really fascinating how each new market has some predictable sort of things that's going to happen in it, right? But then when you take into account the sort of history of that market, as it pertains to the plant, it affects it different.
It does, yeah.
And it's hard to to project or to quantify.
And I did buildings in 6 different states with hundreds of different employees, and there's so many different aspects to it, and how the plant works, where it works at, and how you have to manipulate stuff, and even from the areas to the corporate structures to regulatory to all of it, how all of that's manipulated differently in every state. I've never treated 2 states alike, right? They're both different very much.
Yeah, that's nature of what's been forced upon us, right?
Sure.
But it is what it is. So you adjust, you make it happen. We're a lot to your point. And I think one of the things that I was excited to have you on the show for a lot of reasons, but one of them was that today we're always very concerned about what we have and don't have, which is justifiable. I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't focus on that and do that, but I think we do often forget where we came.
We always do. And, my family will tell you, look, we've ate hot dogs and steak more than anybody. Okay. It has been hot dogs, steak, hot dogs. This has been a roller coaster ride for many years, man. And I don't expect it to be over, but I think that's part of my draw to it. Right. With cars and stuff, I'm probably just an adrenaline junkie after, a good buzz, right?
All right, yeah.
At the end of the day, smoking weed and doing it for a living, I don't think there's any better life that you can live, really. Other people might see it differently, but to me, it's very challenging. You guys know from it, it's a very challenging career path, to say the least. And I tell everybody, look, been here 15 years as long as me, and nobody's talking shit about you yet. You've done something good, okay? That is the biggest deal here is just treat people good and do a good job, right?
Yeah. It sometimes is that easy. The rest of it can fall from a technical standpoint as long as that ego don't get in the way, right?
Sure. And in my world, we know the egos are a mile deep. I think that's my biggest thing is going around trying to beat the egos out of everyone and be like, dude, you can share information back and forth. You call me anytime, get my number, go to my Instagram, find me on LinkedIn, ask a question. Who cares? Right. And as much as I can share the story is good for me.
Yeah. Oh, Coach, you and I are going to be having a conversation when it's not being recorded. We can bring it down. We can bring the level to just another place. So we will definitely do that.
Right. I'm glad you two are meeting each other. I mean, you're right there.
Trust me, dude. Everybody knows, and if you're on my phone, you will know. You get a text from me every holiday.
Yep.
There's many people that will say yes to that because they get one every holiday for as long as I've known them. Okay.
Right.
I started 15 years ago, and now it takes a day and a half to text everybody. I text you personally
Yeah,
and I don't do it.
He does.
Text
I can vouch for it. I've seen them.
Man.
Yeah, man. It's super nice. I love stuff like that. I try to bake stuff like that into the cake as best I can. Touches are important for a lot of reasons, not just for business.
Yeah, and people would think like, oh, he's just doing that to get. Look, I've had many jobs. I don't need a job. Okay, I do that just to be me, to be original, right?
Look, anybody saying that, I'm like, and what? Like, what are you doing to basically try to develop a relationship with somebody? Because that's what you need to do to basically do business. What's your fucking problem?
Yeah,
right? I'm not lying to them. I do hope they have a great new year. I do I wish them a happy birthday. I'm fucking excited for their progress.
Yes, I am. I'm excited for all of us, right?
Yes.
Like for everybody that's watching or listening. Thanks to the Beard Bros. Holler out. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah, like look, anybody can do it. Just get after it, and
you are bringing up something nice though. Stop being so cynical out there, y'all. Like, I mean, ultimately, be skeptical, understood, be cautious, vet. No one is suggesting that you shouldn't do that. But maybe go into a relationship or don't get so bent the first time you have an awkward moment. You're just two fucking people trying to get to know each other. Okay.
Right, exactly.
Like, I'm pretty sure this person isn't trying to steal your whole fucking IP or trying to fucking, take your entire network. Yeah. Don't be stupid and let them in for free and give them everything for free either. But honestly, like, it's just I don't know, like, to your point, you're like, you can make a choice about how you'd like to be in that respect.
For sure.
You get to choose.
It's all up to you, dude. Like me, like, look, everybody can say good or bad or whatever about it, but like I said, 15 years I've been here and nobody talks shit yet. Okay, like,
just in the good way.
That's a huge task in itself. And like, look, I've mentored a lot of guys that are in this industry that work for big corporate companies now, and they still call me boss. Okay, so.
That's a good sign, generally speaking.
There's a lot of good people out there, and like I hope everybody does really well in the industry, and I wish everybody the best too.
We could talk to you forever, Byron. This is a very good conversation as always. Like I'm glad you finally get to be on the show because like I've had the pleasure of having many conversations with you, and it's always really great. And, I had mentioned a couple of times you'd be good for the show, and you indeed. Course are, and so we're very
I appreciate getting to know you. You and I will be talking.
Just get my number, Aaron. Okay, absolutely. Yeah. Definitely will. If it's just regular life stuff, I'm always that guy, dude. Okay,
absolutely. Well, and here's the thing. My takeaway from this episode, is just that it just being genuine. That's what it is all about. And that's the way I try to live my life, that if people, you may not be everybody's cup of tea. I know I'm not for everyone, and people may like what you say. They may hate it, whatever. But as long as you're genuine and they know that you're coming from a genuine place, they will have to respect it. They won't like it, but they have to respect it because if they see that consistency in who you are as a person, they'll say, well, I may not like it, but knowing the person that he is, he's saying it because this is consistency. So that's my takeaway. I love it.
That's a great one.
I appreciate meeting you because I appreciate genuine people. They're hard to find. They're becoming harder and harder to find. So when you find them, you zero in on that light. So
thank you. And some people think that is like I do it to make money. I don't. I really care. Okay, just so everybody knows, to make it clear out there that if you thought I did this or any of this for money, you have lost your mind, because you'd have to be crazy to do cannabis for money.
No, you would be.
If I'm gonna be honest, like it's also easier at some point to be a dick and make money.
For sure.
So so why am I I must be a stupid strategist then?
That's even the degree of difficulty to get rich and cannabis and be genuine and nice.
Yeah. Like,
what is the degree of difficulty for that?
I will write a book someday.
You should. So, that would be a good one for sure. My takeaway from the episode is sort of to piggyback off of Aaron's. It is to be genuine, but also make sure you're getting yours along the way too. Right? You must. Right? Yeah. Be proactive is what you were basically referring to. Agreed. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're at. I don't care what you do. Right. There's a way to be proactive, to seek mentorship, to learn, to do professional development, to network, to there's never not a reason to do those things.
Correct. Never. Go get it. It's not gonna find you. You have to find it. That's it right there. That's a Brian.
You must be your own strongest advocate, and I know that's hard for people. Do it.
Dude, do you know how many awkward doors I've had to kick in with a bunch of board members? And look, you know how I dress, okay?
Yeah, right. You're rolling you're looking just like that into the boardroom. Correct?
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah. Sorry, bro. It's always the same way.
This is what we're doing.
And it's hard for them to swallow that sometimes, you know. But I tried it another way and it didn't work. My wife told me to put a T-shirt back on and go get it, right? So look, I go in with
folks from the West Coast, you know, they're cool with, you know, short sleeve button ups and shorts and, you know, all sorts of shits. When you get into that Northeast is where you start getting a little bit, you know, dicey when it comes to that sort of stuff.
You know, so we jump in, man, you know.
Yeah. Although, I mean, rich people everywhere, I get it. But like ultimately, at least in my experience, man, most of the people who are the stupidest wealthy, you would never be able to see it. You would never know.
No.
They're wearing sweatshirts and fucking jeans.
Because they don't want you to know it.
Of course.
Come to Boston. That's where all the rich running around looking poor, okay? Like, this is the hideout.
That's what you should do. Like
that's what they're doing. Like
people can track you today. People will fucking mess with you. Like you can be out there, but don't be out there. You know what I'm saying? Like be out there, but don't, you know, like be right. Anyhow.
I forgot that you're in Massachusetts, so I will see you in person. How about that?
Man,
we'll figure out a time to blaze one.
Come out and take a ride in one of the cars, man. I got a 64 Impala I just got. I'm trying to get it done. It's super nice, black with red interior. Come up and take a ride, dude. Let's go.
I love it. All right.
That sounds fun.
I'm unique, man. Like, come up, like we'll take a ride in a big old car, right?
All right, dude.
Yeah.
Amen. I will.
So Byron, tell us all the places where people can find you. Tell us all the places where people can access you.
You know, Instagram, you can find me Grow Into a Legend, one word, right?
Yep, like Grow Into a Legend.
Yeah, look me up on LinkedIn, Byron Staton. That's where I do most of my work from. Look, I use that as my platform and just the people, man, you know, so like, look out for me, you know, DM me, you know, any of that stuff. If you need to find me, you can find me. That's
you're not hard to reach. He's out there. You can say hello to Byron pretty easily. Just
reach out and say hello, okay?
That's right. Just say hello. He'll be happy to schedule a meeting with you, talk to you about what you need to do to move the needle for your org. So, I highly recommend reaching out and connecting to Byron. He's as you can tell by this show, a world of knowledge, but also quite skilled at what he does. So
look, I'm just there to get it done. I tell everybody where everybody don't finish it, just get out the way. I'll come in and finish it, and we'll turn the power on. Right? Let's go.
That's it. We'll get to the finish line.
Open the doors.
You gotta get up, bro. Get up and get it done. Right?
Yeah. Hey, thank you, brother. We appreciate you for being on the show as always. Hey, that's been Some Guys Talking here on the old Beard Bros Media Network. Byron Staton's been our amazing guest today. I am one host, and Aaron Washington is another host. And we'll see you next time.
Perfect.